Hey everyone, today we are going to make some simple and sturdy speaker stands, so let's get started. So first I am just measuring out a bunch of 2x4s. I bought 4 2x4x8s, and that's all the wood that I'm going to need for this project. And so first we are going to need 6 pieces that are 24 inches long, and those are going to be the sides of our speaker stand. And we're also going to need 6 pieces that are 11 1/4 inches long, and those will be the tops and the bottoms, so like where it sits on the floor and where the speaker is actually going to be sitting. We're going to need 2 small pieces at 8 1/4 inches, and those will be glued together and inserted in the middle as like a little shelf. And then we're going to need 1 piece at 20 13/16, which I know is a nuts measurement, and that's going to be used as like kind of the spine or like back kind of brace of the speaker stand. So it'll sit on the back, like between the top and the bottom pieces is what it'll do. And also what we're going to do is, like, after we get everything cut, which will take a long time, and you can see me doing here, is all of those pieces that are going to be used as the sides and the tops and bottoms, so those 12 total pieces right there, we are going to cut a 45-degree angle into them, and I'm doing that here. And so every single piece at the edges is going to get a 45-degree cut, all the same way, because we're going to be making a tons of little boxes is what we're doing and putting them together. You do not cut the 45-degree angle into that spine piece, nor either of the little pieces for the shelf. All right, so only the 6 pieces is the side that are the sides, and the 6 pieces as the like kind of tabletop and the bottom, and here they all are. So there's your 12 pieces all cut. After you have got everything cut, I took my electric hand planer here, and I'm just kind of quickly smoothing out all of the sides and edges pretty much of every single piece. And the planer is nice because it gets things nice and flat, so things will fit snugly together, because this is kind of like cheaper wood, and so it's going to have a lot of like knots. It's going to be probably a little warped. I didn't want to spend a ton of money on this project. When do I ever? And so this hand planer is just going to give me a really great starting point in terms of sanding and making everything level. And so once every single piece is sanded and planed, I'm going to take 2 small top/bottom pieces and 2 side pieces per little rectangle I'm making here, and we're going to make 3 of these little rectangles. Okay, and this is the like base for your speaker stand, right? And what I'm doing is I picked the best tops like that I wanted to show, and like kept like the outsides where I wanted everything, and I am just gluing the corners together. And what I actually ended up doing was using my corner clamps and clamping a top and a side together, and then like a bottom and a side together, and then when those dried, doing the reverse to put everything together, right? And so you do that a bunch, let it all dry, and now it's time to drill holes for our dowels. And I'm just making little marks right here to kind of place where I want those dowels to go into, so I can make sure that they go through both pieces of wood here. And I'm using dowels because screws can split wood really easily, and dowels are a really nice join for longevity and just keeping like the integrity of the wood intact, which is really nice. And I haven't ever done a project using no screws at all, so I wanted to try it. So I am using 3/8 inch dowels for this, and I am drilling 2 holes using a, of course, 3/8 inch bit so that the dowel fits. I'm using a drill guide, as you can see. It's that little blue thing I've got clamped on there so that my drill goes in nice and straight. And y'all, this thing has been a lifesaver. I absolutely recommend getting a drill guide. It's got a 3/8 inch hole on there, and I'm just drilling right into it, and every single hole came out super straight. No dowels like went through pieces. The drill didn't poke out. And here you can see my 2 holes right here and like kind of the line that I like eyeballed. And here's my little drill guide. And so I just drilled right into that hole. Yep, 3/8 inch. And I did 2 per corner. So 2, 4, 6, 8 per little box, right? And we've got 3 of these little boxes. And then all I'm doing is squirting some wood glue in there and then using a wooden mallet to kind of hammer in my the dowel, and then using a flush cut saw here to saw it right off. And flush cut saws are also very awesome and make quick work of dowels, and they're very, very, very flush when they're finished. I'm also taking my shop vac and like just kind of vacuuming up all the like little bits and making sure the holes are nice and clean, because I don't want any like sawdust in there to get in the way of the dowel and therefore get in the way of the join. I want to make sure it's only dowel in these holes, and like look how flush and nice it is, and we'll sand all this off later. This project is a ton of planing and sanding is what you're going to be doing. So once I've got all 3 of my little rectangles doweled up, what I'm doing here is I am just gluing them together, right? And so pick your favorite pieces to be the front and the back of this thing. And I'm just putting a line of wood glue all the way around and then carefully lining up each piece, right? And like I said, this was cheap wood, very cheap wood. I think this whole project cost me $13, which is awesome, but it means the wood's wonky, and so you're gonna get like weird gaps and stuff. Right here I'm just using some scrap 2x4s and a heavy can of paint and water sealer to quote unquote clamp down the wood, and I let this dry for like a couple days, to be honest, to really make sure it's together. The little shelf that we are about to put in will help keep all of these together, right? Right here now, I'm going to be putting in the dowels for the spine piece. And I didn't show that getting put in, but all it is you can kind of see it there, is a 2x4 just at the back of the speaker stand, right? It just lays flush on the back. And like I said, it's 20 and 13/16 inches long, which is a really weird measurement, I know. So just be sure and measure everything a couple of times to make sure you're getting it right, okay? And so I measured out where the top of that 2x4 was, and I'm just drilling a hole just like we did in all those corners. I'm doing another 3/8 inch dowel here, and I'm just doing one this time, but drilling the hole, wood glue, and then using a mallet to hammer in that dowel, right? Just for added security. And I like the way that dowels kind of look, like when they're stained and stuff, it looks like professional joinery. I don't know, I've just always liked it. And they're all over on this thing. And so I'm doing one on the top there and then one here on the bottom. And like I said, I'm just measuring out where the top of that 2x4 is so I don't accidentally just drill through like the wood and have like a big old hole I can't fix, right? You'll also kind of notice, like I was saying earlier, like there's going to be like kind of gaps and stuff because these pieces are not perfect, and that's just kind of the way it is with cheaper wood. Feel free to use stainable wood filler. It's really great stuff, and I ended up using it all over this thing, and when it got stained up you can't even see it anymore. It's really, really awesome. I keep a bottle handle handy for every project. It hides all imperfections. It's really neat, and it makes it look like it has like a solid top. You'll see it at the end. And so I'm just finishing up these joints right here, and then I'm going to give them a light sand just to make them super, super flush. Both sides, just real quick, zoot, zoot, zoot. And then kind of just like a general sanding over the top and kind of all over, just to like get rid of excess wood glue, splinters, anything like that. So now that that spine is in there, it's in the back, and I'm kind of measuring around it right now. those two little pieces right there that are glued together, those are my two little shelf pieces. And so I am just malleting those in, and oh my gosh, it was so loud. So I, right here, went and got some headphones because wow, the echo. And so I'm just malleting this in. I've got some wood glue on my little spine piece. You can't see it back there, but that's what I'm like kind of aiming for. And I'm just hammering this sucker home. And really, honestly, it's really in there, so it's probably good. And I didn't need to add any dowels, but I went ahead and did it anyway, just in case. You don't want to put something heavy on this little shelf and then it like slips out of place or something, because the wood glue wasn't enough. And so here, what actually happened was I ran out of 3/8 inch dowels, and so I had a ton of 1/4 inch dowels all over the place. So I switched to 1/4 inch dowels, and then of course, if you do this, switch out your drill bit to a 1/4 inch bit, and then measure out, which what I'm doing right here is I'm just measuring where the shelf starts and stops, so I know exactly where those the edges of those boards are, and I'm just making sure that I get the dowels like in the middle of those boards, right, and like evenly spaced. I'm doing, I think I do 2 dowels per board, so 4 total per side. And I ended up, how the shelf is you can see like how it's 1, 2, 3 boards right there make up the side. What I ended up doing was putting a dowel on either side of like the kind of line in between each board. So it's like 1 line, 2, 3, line 4. And you'll see how I'm doing it in a second. So here's one going in, and I kind of clean out the hole with the drill as well. Like if you put it in reverse, it really helps clean out that sawdust. And here I am putting in another hole, see, on either side of the line. And then these 2 holes are for the second board of the shelf, right? And so just drilling in, making sure. I also measured out where the spine was, so I didn't need to drill into that. These holes are just strictly going into the shelf boards. And then same thing, glue and hammering in the dowels. Now, these dowels were a lot easier to drill than the big ones, but they break really easy with the mallet. Like they're really thin. So just keep that in mind. But overall, I actually, to be honest, preferred them, even though they were a little more fragile. And so I do this on both sides. And here they are close up. You can see the X where I don't need to drill, and like where the boards are and everything, and 4 dowels per side. And so I flipped it over and did the other side, and once that was all dried and finished, I did my wood filler everywhere, and I sanded and planed again. So there is a lot of sanding and planing going in on this thing. And once everything was finally done, I cleaned it all off just with my shop vac. I picked a transparent kind of black stain. It's water-based, which was nice. I've never really used water-based stains, but it's really nice because it doesn't smell at all, and it's really, really, really thick. It was really interesting to work with. And so I'm just using a rag here and just kind of like wiping it on as I would any other stain. I would suggest if you wait to do the stain at the end, like I am, because I didn't know what color I wanted to go with until the very end, a rag is just fine for like these broad, big spaces, but once you start getting into all these like nooks and crannies, it's really tedious, and I would suggest using a brush, at least for those places. And so here you go, you can see this is the bottom. So I didn't put any wood filler in the bottom, but this is the bottom of my speaker stand, and you can kind of see the color. What I like about this stain is you can see the grain through it, which is really cool, even though it's black. And then here it is all finished, and it's shiny because I have a wet coat of poly on there, but it dries matte. And this is it, y'all. Like, it's super simple. The only thing is you gotta make 2 of these dang things. But don't forget to put your poly on once your stain is all dry to really make it last. And this thing is really heavy and super sturdy, and I think we are just gonna be just happy with it for a long time. And notice you don't see any gaps at the top, do ya? That's the wood filler. Thanks for watching, y'all. Have a good one.